I'm only sharing this because it's something that I've never seen before and is completely unique to the WNBA. I've seen it before in the WNBA, obviously, but never in another sports league quite like this. And I've come to coin it as the reverence tax, meaning when you speak about Caitlin Clark, you must speak about the legends of the past and her current peers, or else you're being offensive or something. I don't know. I've never seen that before. And the latest person to pay the reverence tax is the legendary Shaquille O'Neal, as he did an interview with TMZ. I believe it was recorded before, but they just released it in the last day or so because they asked him about the Time Athlete of the Year award. And credit Shaq because he could not stand 10 toes on his hating of Caitlin Clark. In the past, he came out and said, sorry, she's too good. And I respect it in a sense because I respect his commitment and affinity for Angel Reese, right? Like that's, you know, LSU, business deals, all these other things. So there's something admirable about, I'm going to root for Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark be damned in the process. But Clark was too good for him to keep that up. So I respect both sides of that. I respect, all right, I'm gonna get my girls back, but at the same time, I can't front and act like Caitlin Clark ain't the damn truth. But anyhow, this is not a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crushing anybody here. It's just amusing to me, especially. I don't know how long this can go on for. I don't know if it will continue into next season or not. But I found it amusing because in what was an otherwise kind of mundane ass interview with Shaq, going through the motions, uh, he made sure to pay the reverence tax when talking about Caitlin Clark winning the Time Athlete of the Year. Here's what I'm referencing. He also talked about lowering the rims again, which you can't talk about the WNBA without lowering the rims. That's like his pet point. He loves it.
And I don't know how anybody could actually argue with this because I'm sure you've experienced this, but even in our own office, people have been talking, not just talking, but vigorously debating things in the WNBA, a league that's been around for
25 years.
25, and now finally it is picked up, and it is due in large part to Caitlin Clark's fame. What do you say about her being the Athlete of the Year?
Congratulations to her. She's a fabulous player. Caitlin, my girl Angel, definitely brought a lot of publicity to the WNBA, but we can't forget all the other WNBA greats, Asia, Sabrina, Teresi, all the women that's playing great. They're finally getting the credit that they deserve. Play much harder than the men, play better than the men. It's a beautiful game to watch.
So there you have it. And all complimentary from Shaq. Again, I'm not going to blow this out of proportion. The fact that he said, it's a beautiful game to watch. They play better than the men. I cut it off before he talked about lowering the rims because I'm not having that conversation. Again, it's hilarious to me. Even in their lower third, it's Clark and Reese. That's doing a lot of lifting, that second name there in connection with what they're talking about, especially when they're asking about Time Athlete of the Year. And then Shaq made sure to reference his girl Angel and then lists off the other names and doesn't even pronounce Diana Taurasi's name correct in doing so. Again, the part of it that's stupid. This is the part of it that's really actually stupid. I mean, there's two parts. One, I've never heard like somebody asked about who won the MVP in another league. Like Patrick Mahomes is the Super Bowl MVP. But you got to remember the Super Bowl MVPs of the past. You got to go back and pay homage to every member of the New England Patriots that won a Super Bowl and every member of the 49ers and whatever teams that have won the Super Bowl over the years. You must pay your respect and honor them. Same thing, you don't hear that in sport. You don't hear that on the NBA side. If Shaq was on Inside the NBA and they asked him about one of the star players in the NBA, he's not going to start listing the other players. He's going to talk about the player they asked him about. So that's one part of it. That's stupid. The other part of it that is stupid is the idea that these players are being slighted at the expense of the mention of the other player. Because everybody has a higher profile now because of all this. I mean, look, I still saw people talking about Angel Reese doing this yesterday. I'm not going to do a video on that because that happened years ago. It's old news. I'm not reliving that moment over and over again, but I still see that. Like, and why is that a thing? Because it was connected to Caitlin Clark. Anybody saying otherwise is getting it completely twisted, right? Like, that's why that has the left legs in the life that it has. And Angel has become a household name, and Angel has leveraged her brand in a specific way. You know, I know there's been conversation about Angel on the internet the last couple of days too. She's going to be a part of Unrivaled, hopefully. You know, I want to talk about her playing basketball, and she can do whatever she wants off the court. You know, I'm not even going to delve into some of the other stuff. I see better for me. Avoid that. Sorry. Next. So there's that. There's, you know, Asia Wilson again being a bigger star than she's ever been as a result of this. It's not even close. Diana Taurasi getting more recognition for her career than she ever did because of this. The New York Liberty finals against the Lynx getting more attention because the profile of the game has been raised. And the next wave of players getting more attention because the profile of the game has been raised. So I think people need to realize you don't have to do that anymore because the other players are getting talked about. I just did a video on Unrivaled. I just did it. Had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Just did a video on Unrivaled. I will do videos on women's college basketball. I'm doing a Bleacher Report stream every week on women's college basketball coming up starting next Thursday. You know, all these other players. Sabrina Ionescu at the All-Star game stood on her own. She didn't need to be attached to anybody to stand out and shoot against Steph Curry. She proved that herself. You know, Angel is a star herself, as I just mentioned. You don't have to, she doesn't need to be. It's the sooner she's not lumped in with Caitlin Clark in every conversation, I think the better for her own personal brand growth and growth as a player. So on and on. Like, maybe that's something we can leave in 2024 is the reverence tax that one must pay in order to speak about Caitlin Clark. And I saw that in, you know, I like that about the New Heights interview she did with Travis and Jason Kelsey, where they didn't do any of that stuff. And they didn't make her like pay respects, and they didn't rehash any of those topics. There's just never been people who have taken aim at the golden goose in the same way in any business I've ever seen or any league I've ever seen. And hopefully that realization comes to everybody now that rising tide did lift all boats. All the boats are now out to see themselves. All the boats are going to get their proper respect and attention on their own merits. And you don't have to pay that reverence tax at the mention of the name Caitlin Clark.